Welcome to Smart Girl Philippines. I'm Irish and the topic of today's short talk is 9 reasons dating is hard in the Philippines. How to avoid mistakes, beat the competition, and attract Filipinas. Over the course of several years of working as a waitress here in the Philippines, I talked with hundreds of foreigners who came to the Philippines that found wives and girlfriends and were able to start an exciting new adventure here. But at the same time, I talked to hundreds of foreigners who had a dirty little secret. It had nothing to do with their sex life or naughty fantasies or anything like that. The secret is that they were all, to some degree, in pain. They showed up to a place where finding love was supposed to be easy, but it turned out to be extremely difficult. And the more they talked and the more I listened to what they had to say, I began to realize that dating is incredibly hard in the Philippines. And at the same time, it's incredibly easy. I realized that these guys were struggling here because they were making a lot of unforced errors and small mistakes. They fell into common traps, they didn't have the right mindset, they didn't understand what motivates a Filipino. They didn't know how to create good luck for themselves, and they had no game, which is what I refer to as the ability to attract women without using money or looks. And there was no noticeable difference between these two groups of happy and lonely guys. Both groups of guys looked generally the same. They both had money, the ability to travel around the Philippines, and both were enjoyable to talk to. So I began to conclude that the only difference in guys who are successful here and guys who can't get a date is what I call the 6-inch difference. That's the 6 inches between their ears. It all comes down to being smart and having the right mindset. In short, dating is really easy here for guys who know what they are doing, for guys who have game, and for guys who know how to create good luck for themselves. But if you don't know what you're doing, you don't know how to attract women, and you have bad luck, then you're going to have a very hard time dating in the Philippines. You'll probably notice this is a longer episode, but instead of breaking this up into smaller videos, I wanted to give you everything in one video. For those of you learn these lessons, you're going to save a ton of money, time, energy, and pain caused by making mistakes. You're going to run circles around the competition, and you're going to learn how to actually attract Filipinas. I can guarantee you that no one else has ever told you some of the things I'm about to tell you in this episode. Some of it might be a little shocking, and some of it might seem a little counterintuitive. Some of it might seem really obvious, but it's all raw, honest, and transparent truths that you need to know. It wasn't written by ChatGPT or an AI. You won't find these things on Google. These are the things that you'll either learn the hard way over many months or years, or you can learn them right now in the next few minutes. So let's get started. These are the 9 reasons dating is hard in the Philippines and how actually make it easy. Reason number 1, the price of getting to zero. The first reason why dating is hard in the Philippines is what I call the price of getting to zero. This isn't just the price of admission. If you pay the cost of a ticket to get into an amusement park, then you get to ride all the rides. So this is different. Here you're going to have to spend a lot just to get to zero, which means there's no guarantee that you'll be riding any of the rides. Maybe you started chatting with Filipinos on dating websites and they all tell you the same thing. When are you visiting? Come here, I'm waiting for you. But that's easy for them to say. They don't have to do anything. But you, on the other hand, you have to spend 2 days traveling and thousands of dollars and uproot your entire life and go through the hustle of tickets, airports, security checkpoints, buses, vans, boats, logistics, money exchanges, international phone plans, sweating your balls off, and 12-hour jet lag. just to get a chance to possibly have a date with her, and there's no guarantee that she will actually meet you or like you. So she had to make no effort or investment, but you have to make a huge fucking effort. And the same is true when you arrive in the Philippines. You'll be in Manila, but the girl you started chatting with is in Cebu, and she says, "Come here." And so you go there, but then she's busy with work and can't meet you now. And then you meet a girl in Leyte, and she says, "Come here." And you go there, and maybe she meets you for lunch, or maybe she doesn't. And so you're putting out enormous amounts of effort just to get to zero. So let me share with you 2 ways to make this easy. The first way is to make the Filipina invest in the relationship before you show up in person. A lot of guys develop close relationships with Filipinas online before they show up. They do a lot of video calls and chats and trade lots of pictures and really take their time getting to know each other before the guy commits to showing up to meet her. I think this is a good strategy, but there's one big problem with this. It's usually not real. And usually it's a huge fucking waste of time. You're not actually here. She might have a boyfriend or hotspot. She might be dating other foreigners. She might get tired of waiting on you to show up. And she can ghost you at any time. And there's no guarantees that she'll actually meet you when you show up. All she has to do is say, "Sorry, I'm busy this week." I know a foreigner who chatted every day with a Filipina for 3 months, and he was going as fast as he could to make plans to come to meet her. Then one day he got a message from her. She was pregnant. She apologized, and then he never heard from her again. He probably spent 200 hours chatting with her. Here's where he went wrong. He failed to think about the girl. She's in her prime. She's young. She's beautiful. Every guy was trying to date her, and hey, she was horny. It's normal. He wasn't there, and he didn't have a firm date when he would show up. So, biology eventually won, and he lost 3 months of his life wasting time chatting with someone he would never meet. What a huge fucking waste of time! And if you actually do make it here to meet the girl, there's too many stories I could tell you of things going wrong once the guy arrives. They all paid an enormous price to get to zero, and then nothing happened. I think the best way around this challenge is to change your mindset and adopt a different strategy. First, mindset. I get it. You're horny, and you're enticed by the fantasy of chatting and meeting beautiful Filipinas. But to overcome this challenge and avoid getting burned, you need to be strong. Come to the Philippines for you, not for a girl who says, "Come here," or "Let's meet." You're not coming for a girl, you're coming for yourself, and you're coming to explore. Any efforts you make to show up will not really be appreciated by the girl, so completely avoid the idea of showing up for someone and investing a ton of time, money, and energy for nothing. In the Bible, that's called casting your pearls before swine, so don't take the bait. Go where you want to go and do what you want to do for you. Second, a good strategy. If you're gonna show up in the province to meet a Filipino, always have a backup plan. Find someone else in the same general area and start chatting with her just in case option A doesn't work out. Because it's not fair to you to come all this way and make all that effort just to get played by some dumb bitch who playing games. So always have a backup plan. If you're gonna travel to meet a girl, that's great. But view her as a supporting character that is helping move your story forward. But don't think of it any deeper than that until you meet her and if she really invests in the relationship. More times than not, the girl who got you to the Philippines will not be the girl who keeps you in the Philippines. Reason number 2. Online dating is bullshit. There's a ton of dating sites where you can meet Filipinas. There's only one problem. They're all filled with scammers, freelancers, gold diggers Filipinas with boyfriends and husbands, bored Filipinas, and plenty of curious Filipinas who will never meet you in real life. Like anything, in the early days, online dating was a gold mine for meeting Filipinas, and today it's a huge wasteland. Most guys will get hundreds of messages from Filipinos when they signed up, but only 1 out of 100 messages might actually be from someone real and actually single and interested in a real relationship who's not going to ask you for money during your first chat. And she is also getting 100 messages from other guys, some of them already in the Philippines. So in short, you have to spend a crazy amount of time to find the needle in the haystack. And it's more like trying to find a needle in a haystack of needles. Let's not forget that online dating is a huge business. If they can make you think thousands of Filipinos are waiting for you to message them, it works. They get your money. And you get a bunch of spam. And even if you do find someone really good and you start chatting with her regularly and begin to plan a trip to the Philippines, you have no idea who she really is. And sometimes meeting a Filipina online several months before you're able to come here is the kiss of death for the relationship, because you're able to see if she's still active on the dating site and she can see if you're still active. So it's a huge game of chicken. If you could have just waited until you got here to meet her, it would be a totally different dynamic. This is hard stuff, because whether you like it or not, online dating is a big chess game, and there's no way around it. Think about it. She doesn't know if you're actually going to show up. You don't know if she's real. She has messages from 100 other guys. You have messages from 100 other Filipinas. She has plenty of Filipino guys who are courting her. And there are thousands of new foreigners showing up in the Philippines every day. But where are you? 7,000 miles away? So, this is a huge game. And the odds are not in your favor. So here's my best advice for how to overcome this challenge. If you're not in the Philippines, then use online dating as a way to fantasize about being with a beautiful Filipina. View all the profiles, send them messages, try to engage them in conversation. But really, what you're doing is using it to have a fantasy about what it would be like to actually come to the Philippines and be with a beautiful Filipina. Let these fantasies in your mind pull you forward towards the idea of actually coming to the Philippines. The most powerful word in the world is maybe. And maybe one of these Filipinas might actually date you and become your girlfriend or wife. So let that excitement of maybe motivate you to book your ticket to the Philippines. Filipinas are using it in the same way. They're chatting with foreigners and fantasizing about what it would be like to fall in love with a foreigner. Not because they're actually going to meet you if you show up. That's too scary. It all starts as a fantasy in their mind before anything else can happen. The word maybe is the thing that makes the whole world spin. Of course, in the process of doing this, you might actually meet a Filipina that seems really awesome. That's great. But if you start sending her money, you're in the danger zone. Most guys eventually get sucked into this black hole, and chatting is a huge waste of time. But I get it. You're lonely. So if you want to help support her in exchange for talking with you so you won't be lonely, then go for it. In reality, that's what a lot of guys are doing. They're never gonna come here, so they'll send a beautiful Filipina money every month to pretend that she's his girlfriend. This is kinda how online dating got ruined. But hey, it is what it is. Once that fantasy motivates you enough to show up here, then use online dating as a way to meet Filipinas for real dates. Avoid the chatting trap. Get their messenger or WhatsApp number. Exchange a few chats. Do a video call. And then either meet in real life or move on. And don't go on a wild goose chase across the Philippines in search of the next girl who sent you a sweet message. Limit your search to people in your local area here. Reason number 3. You have competition. It's easy to forget that the Filipino you're chatting with has a smartphone, and that probably means 1,000 other guys have access to her. The waitress that you meet at the restaurant has 1,000 other customers who ask for her number. The sweet girl you meet at the mall has 20 Filipino guys trying to court her. 1,000 new tourists show up today, and 1,000 more will show up tomorrow. So in short, she has a lot of options. And for you to succeed, you just have to be a better option. And that can be surprisingly easy sometimes, and sometimes it's going to be impossible. So how can you be a better option than every other guy? Maybe you're the guy who has game and knows how to engage her emotions. Maybe it means you're the guy who shows up in her province. Maybe it means you're the guy who's a gentleman. Maybe it means you're the guy who was available to go out with her when she got off work. Maybe it means you were the guy that didn't come on too strong. You just sat back and waited for her to message you. Maybe you're the guy who didn't send her money, but instead you made her invest in the relationship. Maybe it means you're the guy who shows genuine effort. Maybe every other guy she's dated has cheated on her and she's looking for a guy who isn't a sweet talker. Maybe you're the guy who wouldn't take no for an answer. One strategy is try to figure out what every other guy is doing and do the opposite. If every other guy is trying to get her to his hotel room on the first date, be the guy who acts like he doesn't want it and go slow. I've told this story before. I'm single and I used to work as a waitress. Guys would ask for my number, but I wasn't allowed to give it out at work. One day, a guy asked for it and I told him I couldn't give it out at work. And later that night when I left, he was waiting outside and asked for my number again. He said, "Hey, you're not at work now." I laughed and ended up going out with him. We only went on a few dates, but I wanted to share this story to illustrate how to beat the competition. Also, if a guy liked me, they would start coming to the restaurant to eat every day. But that's the kiss of death for a waitress. Once you do that, you're in the customer zone. And that's what every guy did. And it was a kinda annoying. So the guys who did the opposite and didn't show up every day were the ones I was attracted to and ended up going on some dates with. I know a waitress here who 100 guys wanted to date, but last week she hooked up with a foreigner because he was willing to stay up late to hang out with her after she got off work. He started taking her out after work and was willing to stay up until 4 or 5 a.m. to hang out with her. No other guys were willing to do that. So he's the guy who ended up getting to date her. I know another foreigner who was dating an incredibly beautiful older Filipino. But the problem was that she was always on her phone and had too many guys trying to message her to get dates with her. Instead of trying to compete, he walked away. Sometimes the only winning move is not to play. Without saying too much, I can say for sure that he made the right decision. Before I continue, I just finished writing a book called Irish's Black Book of Game to explain what I know and what I've learned about how to have game when it comes to attracting beautiful women. I'll be releasing this book on Amazon later this year, but I'll give you the digital copy for free. Just click the link in the description below to get on the waiting list when it's released. Reason number 4, you're in the wrong town. Maybe you went to a tourist hotspot like Boracay, but guess what? All the Filipinas in Boracay are either there to work or they're on vacation with their boyfriends. So for dating, Boracay is mostly a huge dead end. So if you're in a tourist hotspots in the Philippines, you're not in the best place to actually meet and date Filipinas. I'm not saying it can't happen, but I'm saying the odds aren't in your favor. Or maybe you went to a place like Angeles City or Subic because of the nightlife. Once again, you're in the wrong place if you're looking for a real relationship. Those places are overrun by tourists, so that means relationships have been monetized there. There's no shortage of girls who will engage in relationships with you for money while you're in town. But they just want $100. They don't want a boyfriend. And think about it. What incentive does a girl have in one of these areas to actually engage in a real relationship if there's a steady stream of tourists showing up who want to pay her for her time? That's called a negative incentive. Going on a real date is a punishment for her because that date at the mall could be costing her $200 that she could be earning from other guys. So in both of these cases, the places with lots of tourists are going to be the most fun, and it might be easy to get a date if you're willing to pay for it. But actually finding a real girlfriend in those spots is going to be challenging. So what's the right town for meeting a Filipina and going on a real date without having to pay for it? The good news is that it can happen anywhere. If there's a college, a mall, a call center, and a coffee shop, then there are going to be beautiful Filipinas interested in dating foreigners somewhere close by. Statistically speaking, the easiest place to get a date is going to be Manila or Cebu City because of the number of Filipinas there. But Manila and Cebu City can also be tricky because if a Filipina came from the province to the city, she's usually there for one reason: to work. Because that's where you go to work to earn money. So, it will probably be easy to get a date, but just remember, she's not going to be a province girl with a lot of free time. The fantasy, of course, is to go to the province and settle down with a sweet Filipina who is still innocent. The challenge is that life is harder in the province. It will be harder to find a date, and dating could be 10 times harder than if you were in Manila or Cebu. You won't know until you go and explore. But just keep in mind that location does matter in the Philippines. Reason number 5, expectations and money. Expectations are very tricky in any relationship, and especially the Philippines, and the money makes everything more complicated here. So she had sex with you on the first date, but you're not even sure if you like her. Now, she's expecting that you're a couple and that you won't date any other Filipinas and that you're going to help support her and her family starting now. Or what you didn't realize is that she boinks every foreigner she meets because most foreigners are just in town for a few days and it usually doesn't lead to anything serious. But you think she wants to be your girlfriend and she's all in on building a life together. Not, maybe you're thinking she's going to travel with you, but she has a full-time job. So she's not gonna just quit her job to go have fun. Maybe she's expecting you to stay in the Philippines with her for at least a month. And if you leave, that you'll return in a few weeks. She doesn't realize how expensive and hard it really is. This is all going to be tricky to figure out, and getting expectations to line up is going to be very hard. And then there's money. Life is hard in the Philippines and relationships are more practical. So she's interested in relationship with the foreigner because she wants a better life. But most foreigners make the mistake of giving her money and giving her family money and making things way too easy for her. Then she doesn't have to invest in the relationship, which in turn sabotages the relationship. And spoiler alert! Giving money to a Filipina's family to help them with their financial problems has never helped a relationship between a Filipina and a foreigner. Not one time. But she's so amazing and you're having so much fun in the bedroom that most guys open their wallet to her and start pouring out cash. The key to overcoming this is don't let her manipulate you just because you went on one date with her. Doesn't mean you're married, and it doesn't mean you're now her personality and she figured out a way to survive before you met her and she'll probably be okay if you leave. And on the flip side, don't expect too much from her. Relax. You just met her. If you're expecting her to quit her job or take off with you to Boracay, or you want to meet her parents and get the fiancé visa paperwork started, you're expecting way too much too soon, and you're setting yourself up for a scam. So, chill out and go slow. Keep yours and her expectations to a minimum and spend as little money as possible. Reason number 6. Unforced errors. You're in a hurry. You're only here for 2 weeks and this trip is costing you a fortune. You have to make it happen now. But that just makes you seem desperate and you scare her away. Maybe you try using Tagalog words when you chat with her without realizing it's a huge turn-off for most Filipinas. Maybe you mess up the first date. You get mad at her for being late. You talk negative about the Philippines. You ruin the magic of what she's expecting a foreigner to be like. You start talking about your ex. You make the first date too long. You start talking about having kids and getting married right away. You talk about money or brag about your life. You try to get too physical with her. You take the bait and meet her family on the first date, and on and on. These are all unforced errors. Honestly, most foreigners show up here and cock-block themselves. It happens every day. They could totally make it happen, but they act dumb and then they end up hugging their pillow instead of a beautiful Filipina. I'm working on a separate video with 100 of the dumbest mistakes guys make here, but the short version is that you need to turn off your brain. Just enjoy your time here and with your Filipina. Don't throw around money and don't try too hard. Just have fun together and see how things go. That's what dating is all about. Spending time with someone to see if you're a match. So just relax. No engagement rings, no babies, no houses, no moving in, no fiancé visas, no family support, no iPhones, no major decision. It's a crockpot, not a microwave. So date her, test her, and see if she has the qualities that are going to lead to a lasting relationship. If she doesn't, then quickly move on. Thank her for her time and then block her on all your social media and keep moving. Another huge unforced error is not picking up the clues that a Filipina actually likes you. I put a link in the description below to my video where I explain the 36 things a Filipina might do. And I put each of them into 4 different zones that will tell you what they each mean. It's a good video, so be sure to check it out. And you might also like my video where I explain 7 failed dating strategies that will teach you how to avoid a lot of unforced errors. Here's another very common unforced error that happens here. A guy will end a relationship with a Filipino only to get sucked back in. Guys, listen up. Once a relationship ends with a Filipina, she is going to sabotage your next relationship if you don't block her. Or she's going to play mind games with you. Or she's going to try to lure you back in so she can get the last laugh. Experienced guys here know what I'm talking about. She'll say, "Happy birthday," or "I miss you," or whatever. It's all a trap. So do not make this mistake. When it's over, it's over. Do not look back. Block and move on. Everybody makes mistakes. Nobody's perfect. But if you can reduce the number of unforced errors you make here, you're going to have a better chance at success. Reason number 7. Magical thinking. Something happens when you step off the plane. It's a feeling that's hard to explain, but you feel the magic in the air. And it's real. The Philippines is a magical place. And yes, amazing things are possible. But that doesn't mean the laws of gravity, psychology, biology, and human behavior don't exist here. Sometimes dating becomes incredibly hard for foreigners because they have what I call magical thinking. They think that all they have to do is show up at the mall and Filipinas are going to be begging to go on a date with them. It's a great fairy tale, and it can happen. But it's usually not that easy. Another reason I know most guys suffer from magical thinking is because of all the comments I see from the guys saying, dating is easy in the Philippines. You just need money. But trust me, there are plenty of rich foreigners in the Philippines who are lonely and can't find dates. Money can be used to your advantage in many ways here when it comes to dating Filipinas. But you have to know when to use it, where to use it, and how to use it. And besides that, Filipinas view all foreigners as the same. A Filipino views you the same as she views a billionaire who just arrived. ₱1,000,000 is around $20,000. So if you have $20,000 in your bank account or a $20,000 credit card limit, congratulations, you're a millionaire here. Another form of magical thinking I see has to do with looks. They think looks don't matter in the Philippines. I know a guy who showed up here who was almost 300 pounds. When he walked through the mall, all the girls had boyfriends. But then, when he lost 70 pounds and came back to the Philippines and went through the mall again, suddenly all the girls were single. So don't fool yourself. Biology is real here, and psychology works the same here as anywhere else. Filipinos want what they can't have, and human behavior works the same here as anywhere else too. Filipinos are looking for the best option, and they value their freedom, just like you do. And I know it's not popular for me to say this, but most Filipinos actually prefer to date and marry Filipino guys. It's 100% true. And this shatters the fantasy that a lot of guys have. So that's why no other Filipinos on YouTube are going to talk about this. But it's true. The truth is that there is a small percentage of Filipinos who will date and marry foreigners. And it's a big enough percentage that it works for foreigners to come here and find wives. But, real talk, in the town where I live, around 90% of the Filipinos that I'm friends with will only date Filipino guys. Now, 10% of Filipinos still leaves more than enough for the foreigners to date. But it's magical thinking to show up here to expect that every Filipino is dying to go on a date with you. It's simply not true. The solution to this problem is don't come to the Philippines with any assumption. Assume you don't know anything. And don't assume that all YouTubers are telling you the truth about how things actually are here. Remember that some guys are playing poker. If you show up in town where all the good girls are, of course, the other foreigners are going to tell you that it's all dried up and you're better off going to the next province. And they're going to tell you that all the good girls are over in the other province. And when you go there, it's all dried up. They're fucking with you. Remember, you're all fishing in a giant pond and people don't want their fishing hole to be discovered by other guys. So there's a lot of bullshit dating advice flying around here. If a lot of foreigners are settling in a particular area but all the video online say not to come there, then what does that tell you? So look at people's actions, not their words. Don't be overly positive or overly negative. Remember, if it seems too good to be true, it probably is. And when it seems hopeless to get a date, remember, all it takes is one. So, turn off your magical thinking and learn to be more of a realist with a positive attitude. That's how you're going to make it happen here. Reason number 8, they don't have game. Let me share a quick story I shared in a previous video. A foreigner arrived to the Philippines on his birthday, checked into his hotel, and then went to the hypermarket to buy some drinks and got the WhatsApp number of the beautiful 22-year-old Filipina at the checkout and told her he just arrived in the Philippines this morning and that it was his birthday and to message him if she wants to go out for dinner after work. He sent her a quick message when he left the store. To his surprise, he got a message from her a few hours later saying, "I just finished work. Where I should meet you?" He said, "How about the sports bar next to the mall?" She met him there. They had dinner and drinks and birthday cake. And an hour later, she was in his hotel room and gave him the best birthday ever. But then he never heard from her again. He started giving his number to every checkout girl he met in stores for the next few months, but it never happened again. Why? Because of game. Here's what he did right the first time. There's nothing more attractive to a Filipina than a foreigner who just showed up here. So check. And even better, it was his birthday. And birthdays are supposed to be fun. So check. And he didn't just give her his number, he made sure to get her number too and message her right away. Check. And then the last part, he cut straight to the chase and avoided the chat zone by giving her a deadline. Tonight. And he painted the visual picture of what she could expect when she hangs out, which was him buying her a dinner when she gets off work. And she has to eat dinner anyway. So now this guy is offering her something of value and it works with her schedule and she knows what to expect. Check? So without realizing it, he had perfect game with his approach. And every other time he approached a girl at the checkout, he was missing all those key ingredients. No story of just arriving, obviously no birthday, no deadline, and just giving his number on a slip of paper that was quickly forgotten instead of actually getting the girl's number. So he had one moment of greatness followed by a year of strikeouts. That's what game is. It's knowing how to attract and get dates with strangers, and most foreigners who show up in the Philippines suck at having game with Filipinas. But don't get it twisted. I'm not saying you have to lie to have game. He could have still said he was new in the Philippines. Instead of saying it was his birthday, he could have said he just got raised at work or was celebrating a special occasion. And he still could have given a deadline. The problem with game is that it's very counterintuitive. Most of it doesn't make sense because it seems like the opposite of what you should do. And the reason for this is that you're looking at it from your perspective, not the Filipina perspective. I know about 100 different things that guys do that make Filipinas want to drop their panties. And I know about 100 different things that guys do that make Filipinas want to run and hide. But here's the challenge. I talked to a guy at the restaurant I used to work at. He made a fortune in sales and when he retired, he started a consulting business. But he said everyone he tried to share the secrets of making big money in sales with disagreed with him. He said it was frustrating. He's literally made millions of dollars selling products and someone with zero experience is telling him what works and what doesn't work. So he stopped helping others and went to live on the beach. I kind of feel the same way. I can give you the keys to the kingdom, but it's up to you if you want to use them or not. I'm trying to help. If you can't handle the truth or you're not ready for it, then that's okay. But it's very funny when some random guy who's 7,000 miles away tells me that I don't know what I'm talking about when it comes to attracting Filipinas. Hello, I'm a Filipina. I'm in the Philippines. I have 1,000 Filipina friends. I've talked to 1,000 of foreigners. Guys, I know what the fuck I'm talking about. People who know anything about my channel already know I'm telling it how it is, not how it should be. I'm trying to help, okay? Here's an example. Asking yes or no questions when you're first meeting a Filipina is a horrible approach. But most guys say, no, Irish, you're wrong. Okay, I'm wrong then. You're right. Go ask a bunch of yes or no questions to Filipinas and see where it goes. Good luck. I'll be making more videos about the topic of game in the coming weeks. It's one of my favorite subjects and it's why I wrote a book about the topic. And from my perspective, game is really the missing ingredient for most foreigners who show up here. And game isn't just for trying to go on a date. Game is also important when you're dating and trying to close the deal. And no matter how good your game is, everybody could stand to get 1% better. And that 1% might mean the difference between the night of your life and a night lying in your bed playing Brick Breaker on your phone. Last, reason number 9, value exchange. All relationships involve an exchange of value, and most guys forget about this basic law. For a relationship to exist with someone, there has to be an exchange of value. This is a literal definition of a relationship, so don't fool yourself. You can love someone all you want, but it's going to take more than love for a relationship to work. You're going to need to ask yourself, what value do you bring to the table? And you need to think about what value they bring to the table. Why would a Filipina want to date you? Why would she choose you? What can you offer her that is better than everyone else? And here's where it gets challenging. This exchange of value has to remain invisible and is best not discussed openly. The more visible the exchange, then the more uncomfortable it makes everyone feel. Telling a good Filipina you'll give her $70 if she'll come to your hotel room probably won't work. But dating a Filipina on a $70 date and then taking her to your hotel room feels better. It was the same outcome, but the exchange of value remained hidden. So it usually works better that way. I know one foreigner who bragged that he never paid for Boom Boom in the Philippines, but he was dating a Filipina with 5 kids and supporting them. So I hate to break it to you, G.I. Joe, but you're paying a lot for that pussy. The next tricky part is that the woman is the judge of what's valuable and what's not. So it's not about the actual value that you think you're offering. It's about the perceived value. And Filipinas get to be judged of what has value. You can say you're the price all you want, but if another guy has a better perceived value than you do, then sorry, you're not the price in her eyes. And this can be really hard for a lot of guys to accept. You might be awesome, you might be rich, you might have a great personality, you might be a good guy. But if she's looking for a loyal guy who won't cheat on her and that's what she values, and if you're a rich guy who gives off player vibes, then sorry about your luck. Here's another one. A Filipina chooses a foreigner who is a 6 instead of a 9. Why is that the case? Well, the foreigner who was the 9 lives in the Philippines and the 6 travels back and forth every 2 months. That Filipina really values her freedom and autonomy. She works to support her parents and doesn't have a ton of free time. So the foreigner that offers her more value is the 6 and not the 9, even though the 9 is better in literally every way. And sometimes a Filipina chooses the 6 who is in the Philippines and not the 9 who is planning a trip to the Philippines. If you haven't booked your ticket, then it's all a fantasy. Salespeople already know about this. You show the house to the person who's in the market to buy a house. You don't waste your time showing a house to someone who isn't looking for a house. So don't expect Filipinas to get excited to chat with someone who isn't planning on coming here. The other challenge with this is if you give away your value too quickly, then the relationship will probably be ending very soon. After all, you don't keep paying the plumber after he unclogs your pipes. So if you meet a Filipina and help solve her problems too quickly and all your values get extracted too quickly, then chances are she's going to be leaving you very soon. Game over. The only way it works is if you make her invest in the relationship and don't make things too easy for her. So, start thinking about this question. What's in it for her if she's gonna go on date with you? Why would she want to go on a date with you? And how can you make yourself useful to her not only today but every day? Maybe it's Friday night and she wants to go have fun singing karaoke and you're the karaoke master. Or maybe she just finished high school and she's ready to have a baby and you're the guy who showed up who actually wants to have kids and aren't going to just disappear if she gets pregnant. Or maybe she's in college and needs help with her tuition. Maybe she is working full-time and looking for a guy to have fun with on the weekends. Or maybe she's a waitress and she gets off work at 11 p.m. every night and she's looking for a guy who can hang out with her late at night. In my case, I like spending time in the mountains. I'm afraid of the city. So the guy who wants to explore the mountains with me is the guy who adds value to my life. Not a guy with a nice condo in Manila. Whatever it is, start thinking in terms of what value you're bringing to the table. Because we all know what value a beautiful Filipina brings to the table. Think about this for a second. I write, film, edit, and release videos because I'm incentivized by YouTube to do it. It's not a ton, but it's enough to survive. I'm consistent in how I upload videos, which means I am usually working 5 to 6 days a week. I live a very simple life here and I'm not chasing after money, but at the same time, rent and electricity aren't free. Cameras and microphones aren't free, and I still have to eat. So when a random guy asked me to go to Boracay to pack off with him for a week, the reality is that I will be punished if I say yes. No work means no YouTube videos, and that means no money to pay my rent and my bills. And that means no red horse. And if you know me, you know I love my red horse. So keep that in mind when you're trying to date Filipinas. If what you're asking her to agree to is actually a punishment, then all you're doing is setting yourself up to get a big no. So you need to figure it out. Use your brain. How can you date a Filipina in a way that incentivizes her to say yes instead of punishing her or giving her a negative incentive for saying yes? The challenge with all of this talk about value is to not become jaded about it, because then you'll just turn into a guy that says it's just about money. But that's not it. That's some of it. That's part of it. That's a factor. Yes, but that would be like saying someone only works at a job because of money. Well, yes, work is where you show up to get money. And a relationship is typically where a guy goes to get sex and a girl goes to find support. So duh! But at the same time, it's not just about sex and money. To accuse everyone of only working at their job for money is pretty dumb. There are a lot more factors in play. Maybe it's the hours, the benefits, the perks, the vacation, the boss, the opportunity for growth. There's a lot more to it than just money. And it's the same with relationships in the Philippines. Money is a factor, but there are a lot of factors. If you can figure out what a Filipina values, then you're never going to have a hard time finding one to date. So let's do a quick recap. Reason number 1 is the price of getting to zero. The way you're going to overcome this challenge is you're not going to spend a ton of time and money chasing Filipina. You're coming here for you to explore. Reason number 2, online dating is bullshit. The way you're going to overcome this challenge is you're not going to get stuck in the chat zone. Use online dating as a fantasy to motivate you to get here and make it happen. Reason number 3, you have competition. You're going to overcome this by doing what other guys aren't doing. Reason number 4, you're in the wrong town. You're going to overcome this challenge by avoiding tourist hotspots to look for Filipinas to date. You're going to stick to Manila or Cebu, or you're going to explore the provinces. Reason number 5, expectations in money. You're going to not make any big decisions for at least for the first month of dating, and you're not going to financially support a Filipina's family. Reason number 6, unforced errors. You're going to turn your brain off and quit trying to be too smart for your own good. Reason number 7, magical thinking. You're going to make no assumptions about what it's like dating in the Philippines. You're going to be a realist with a positive attitude. Reason number 8, having game. You're going to try to improve how you approach and connect with Filipinas. And you're going to buy my new book called Irish's Black Book of Game when it's released on Amazon later this year. And reason number 9, value exchange. You're going to shift your perspective and put yourself in the shoes of a Filipina. Think how she thinks. What value do you have to offer her? Why should she date you? And you're going to do this without becoming jaded. Remember, it's about money and it's not about money at the same time. Just like for guys, it's about sex and it's not about sex at the same time. Let me conclude by saying that if dating in the Philippines was easy, everyone would just slide right in. But the fact that it's hard is a good thing. By knowing how to overcome these challenges, it means you have a big advantage over your competition. And it means you'll be able to avoid all the traps and challenges. So I hope you learned something and that this episode makes dating much easier for you here. Good luck to you. You've got this. Now, go make it happen. And if you're still like, hey Irish, where do I actually start? How do I actually get a girlfriend? Well, I made it super easy for you. I created a free PDF called How to Get a Filipina Girlfriend, where I explained the 7 simple steps you need to follow to actually make it happen. And this isn't just fluff or some list of steps to thrown together, and it wasn't written by some AI. No, I put a lot of thought and care into making this be a very helpful roadmap for how to actually find a Filipina girlfriend in real life, step by step with no bullshit. So, if you want to download it, the link is in the description below and it's 100% free. What do you think? Please let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, you may consider signing up for my free weekly newsletter called Smart 123. Every Thursday, you receive an email with 3 ideas about love, 2 ways to be smart in life and business, and 1 bit of personal Filipina life advice from me. You just click the link in the description below to try it out. It's free, and you can unsubscribe at any time. And as usual, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button for the good luck of the Philippines.